Joined now in studio by Raphaël Melançon, political analyst for CTV and CJAD, columnist for the Montreal Gazette, and president and founder of Trafalgar Strategies. A very busy man. Thank you for coming down.
Good afternoon, Robyn.
Great to chat with you. Okay, let's talk about the third link, because as a Montrealer, I'm like, oh my God, get over it. Like, just figure it out one way or the other. Just figure out the third link. So the CAQ is once again promoting this third link between Quebec City and Lévis. They don't have a confirmed route. We've got the election coming up. The CAQ is already in shambles. Why are we still talking about this?
Because, believe it or not, now we need to convince them, even the mayor of Lévis, of the route they are planning on building, this new tunnel between Quebec City and Lévis. So back when the CAQ was elected in 2018, they made major gains in the greater Quebec City region because they promised the third link to build the third link there. It's been 7 years now. We don't see the end of it. We don't see anything really happening around this. And it seems like even the route that they are planning on right now, that they are tabling on right now, it's really far from being unanimous. Because even the new mayor of Lévis, Stephen Blaney, the former federal conservative minister, who's been elected mayor of Lévis in November of last year. Now we have to say last year.
Yeah, last
2026.
year, 2025.
I got to get used to it. So he's concerned that this might not be the right route, actually. He would rather prefer to see it on the eastern side of the city. So going through probably something like Ile d'Orléans. And to me, to be honest with you, I remember back in the days when I worked for the Legault government, for the two first years of the first time, I'm going to say we, back in the days, when we came to power in 2018, I was working for the Minister of Culture. And I was, among other things, in charge of heritage. The dossier of heritage buildings and protecting the heritage in Quebec. And Ile d'Orléans is a heritage protected site. It's a UNESCO World Protected Site.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's a very important piece of our history. And there's one of the projects, one of the ideas was to build a bridge and have a small portion of highway going through Ile d'Orléans to get to the south shore of Quebec City. So going from the north shore to the south shore through Ile d'Orléans. But that was really far from being a priority for the government at the time, because they were afraid that it would really create discontent among the population of Ile d'Orléans. They didn't want to have a highway. But to be honest with you, this is also what Éric Duhem and the Conservative Party of Quebec proposed as a route for the third link. And I would say it's probably the most realistic and most economic way of building a new a troisième lien in Quebec City. Because if you compare the two current bridges are on the western side of the city, you have to buckle up a loop, so that people on the eastern side of the city don't have to go through downtown, the core downtown of Quebec City, to get to the bridges, to get to Lévis. Yep. So it would be realistic to have that bridge, and especially considering that the bridge that connects Ile d'Orléans to the rest of the province also needs to be rebuilt. It's decaying, it's old, so it has to be rebuilt no matter what. And the longest part of that route would be covered already by the bridge that needs to be rebuilt. So you would have 2/3 of it already built with that bridge, and then you have a smaller bridge connecting the southern part of Ile d'Orléans to Lévis. That would be super realistic, and that's actually the solution that the new mayor of Lévis, Stephen Blaney, is pushing for. But the Quebec government, the Legault government, doesn't want to hear anything about it.
Why?
I don't know. They are really pushing for a tunnel, a very expensive tunnel, a very long tunnel between the downtown core of Lévis, going down under the St. Lawrence River, under a big portion of Quebec City, and then coming out around the for those who know Quebec City, the Basse Ville. So you would go under the Haute Ville and going out in the Basse Ville, around the area of Saint-Roch. That's unrealistic, and that's highly expensive. And let's face it, I mean, after 7 years in power, the CAQ might not be reelected. Let's face it, I'm sorry for our friends in Quebec City, but that project is never going to see the light of day.
Well, so I was curious what the other parties are planning for this third link. The Liberals, the PQ, do they have any concrete plans?
Some of them are opposed to it. There's no consensus, and also even in Quebec City itself, it's a project that's really, a lot of people want it on the South Shore because they say there's too much traffic. To be honest with you, I've done it for 2 years, back and forth every week, Montreal, Quebec City. If there's 5-minute traffic, to enter the bridges, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Really?
Well,
that's what we're complaining about?
Exactly. That's what they are complaining about. Because
as
to them,
Montrealers.
but as Montrealers, when you see the traffic in Quebec City, you're like, it's a walk in the park, to get through those bridges and get to the South Shore. But yeah, for some people in Quebec City, it's still a priority. So it might hurt the CAQ in the next election because they will certainly lose some seats on the South Shore because they failed at delivering on that commitment for 8 years now. And of course, it's a hot potato for the Legault government. They promised it was really an important commitment for that region. It helped them make major gains back in 2018, and I feel like it's going nowhere at the moment.
Wow. Okay. Speaking of Quebec politics, Le Devoir had an analysis laying out the key political battles to watch ahead of the election because, 2026 is a provincial election year. So that includes the obvious ones like healthcare, relationships with doctors, which is still contentious. I spoke to a cardiologist yesterday. The specialists are not on board with the changes to Bill 2. I know the family doctors agreed in principle, but the specialists are like, no.
And on top of that, they're still going to have to amend Bill 2 because that's what they agreed with the family doctors before the holidays. So there's that, and as we know, Christian Dubé is not going to be there to lead those negotiations. So yes, it's going to be an interesting one. But there's even more to that. There's also other. François Legault desperately needs good news at the moment, and he ended 2025 on a very negative note, of course, as we know. But I'm looking at 2026, the beginning of the year, and there's nothing here that I see that could turn positive for the CAQ at the moment. Just look at, for instance, we're going to have very soon the report of the Gallant Commission on the CAQ fiasco,
Yep. Not good for them.
Not good for them. Certainly the government is going to be blamed for something in there for their lack of action or reaction here. Then you have a by-election that's going to happen in the riding of Chicoutimi in the region of Saguenay, because as we know, André Laforêt, the former Minister of Municipal Affairs, resigned from the Legault government to run for mayor of the city of Saguenay. She lost in the end, but still there's a seat to fill there. So by the month of March, François Legault will have to launch a by-election in the riding of Chicoutimi, and so far it looks like the PQ is going to win that one. So it's going to be yet again other bad news for the CAQ. So there's that. There's what else do we have? So we talked about SACLIC. They're going to be blamed, and then we have also a Supreme Court ruling coming up on Bill 21.
Oh boy,
that could turn positive for François Legault, but that could also turn negative, because if ever the Supreme Court were to rule against Bill 21, I feel like this is going to fuel the sovereignist movement. The PQ is going to pick that up and use that. It's going to give them ammunition to say, see, yet again another federal intervention, abuse of power to interfere with Quebec's internal affairs. So in an election year, especially as we know, we are going to talk a lot about a third referendum with the PQ and Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon's commitment to hold a third referendum if ever he becomes premier. So I feel like the Supreme Court could give some ammunition to the sovereignists if ever they were to rule against Bill 21, because we know that secularism for a lot of Quebecers is a non-negotiable value. It's very, very important to a lot of Quebecers for historical and cultural reasons. After 200 years, 2 centuries of domination from the Catholic, all-powerful Catholic Church at the time, people want to make sure that state and church are separate. And so I don't see this beginning of the year coming as anything positive for François Legault. And yet again, it's going to add up to the toll and to the pressure he will have on his shoulder to resign and leave.
Which is interesting because historically for the CAQ, identity politics has been their bread and butter. When things were going wrong, it was, okay, let's shift the conversation and talk about identity politics. And all of a sudden, they no longer have that to fall back on. That means they have nothing.
They have nothing. And you know what? They're losing the nationalists to the PQ. And then if you have someone like Charles Milliard, who's the former Director General of the Federation of Chambers of Commerce of Quebec, they're going to lose also the status of the party of the economy to the Liberals.
Yep.
So what's left of the CAQ here? What's left of their identity, both on the nationalist side and the economy side? After all we know, after the whole year, the losses we've seen with Northvolt, I mean, François Legault can no longer claim he's the economy champion anymore.
Wow. When you lay it all out like that, it feels like the CAQ has no hope at all. I'll ask you the same question I asked James Meny. Is there any chance, if François Legault did the quote-unquote honorable thing and stepped down, do you think that CAQ has time to retool, find a new leader, and make a successful run at the next provincial election?
Yes. Well, we've seen it with the Liberals on the federal stage just in 2025.
Of course.
So, I mean, you could hold a leadership race in the spring, for instance, have a new leader and premier, of course, for a couple months, and then launch an election with that new leader, and things could really turn in favor of the CQ eventually. A miracle is always possible in politics. I never take things for granted. I've been watching politics for so many years. Let me tell you something. Never be surprised in politics. Anything can happen. And there are some potential candidates that we know, like Simon-Jeanin Barrette, Sonia Lebel, Geneviève Guilbeault, also despite Saclic, might shoot her shot. But there are also candidates we might not see on the radar at the moment. There's the name of Mario Dumont.
Oh my.
Yes, is still circulating. I don't really believe it, but Mario Dumont could be tempted. I really say could be tempted to run to succeed François Legault.
That would be a heavy hitter.
It's a big name in Francophone media. So if ever Mario Dumont were to become the leader of the CAQ, I mean, anything can happen at this point.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Raphaël Melançon, political analyst for CTV and CJAD, columnist at the Montreal Gazette, president and founder of Trafalgar Strategies. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, Robyn.
Great chatting with you.
The biggest songs in the world. You've heard them countless times. Now, learn the details of how they came to be. Join Ruby Carr for Encore, the stories behind the songs you love. New interviews and newly unearthed archive footage make for a fascinating weekly deep dive. Stream Encore, the stories behind the songs you love on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.